In today's show, the hot topic on issues this week is gender affairs. How do we create a society inclusive of the home and workplace that is impartial?
We do have a national policy for gender equality, and that policy is something we're very proud of, because what it does is it allows the mainstreaming of gender, meaning concerns relating to women and men, how they negotiate, how they move in spaces. That's going to be looking at making it gender balanced so that there's no discrimination against women and men.
And we zoom in on pioneering women in the areas of agriculture and culture. This is Jamaica Magazine, and I'm Theodore Henry. Please stay with us. The magazine unfolds right now.
Family,
school,
church,
community.
all important agents of change in our society.
They influence what we think about ourselves, our surroundings, and how we see the roles of males and females.
Let's all work together for equality for all Jamaicans.
Let's make Jamaica a place where both males and females have equal access to a good education, good jobs, the best healthcare, and opportunities for the good of the country.
Males and females are different, but it doesn't mean they're not equal.
Let's build a Jamaica that doesn't discriminate. Become an agent of change.
Government remains committed to ongoing implementation of strategies to eliminate gender-based violence and discrimination. Notable among these are provisions in the National Policy for Gender Equality and the proposed National Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence. Many women and men are being subjected to violence and denied opportunities for educational advancement and employment. Next, we talk more on the matter with the Bureau of Gender Affairs.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Gender affairs is what we'll be discussing today. We have with us the Director of Policy and Research at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Mrs. Sharon Coburn Robinson. We thank you for your company. Good to have you on the program, Mrs. Robinson. Gender affairs is a crucial subject. Not everyone is as apprised of the importance of the subject as really ought to do, and I use advisedly because a lot of men really need to be sensitized on this issue. Why do you think that gender affairs really is a crucial area for focus?
Well, I thank you for having me, and I want to say that gender, as you rightly pointed out, is very critical because it's cross-cutting. So in every situation, whether it's on the job, it's a family situation, it's global, international, regional, you are going to have issues relating to men and women and how they negotiate, whether it is a business opportunity, it's a promotion, and just about in every situation, whether it's employment, it's an area that has to do with negotiation, like I said again, in most cases, entrepreneurship, you're going to have issues that relate to women and men and how women negotiate, how men negotiate, how the space is so layered that you don't have discrimination. And as a country, we do have pieces of legislation that force us to pay attention to issues relating to gender. And we do also have conventions, rights, agreements, and so on that we have signed on to and ratified, and they pull us in that particular direction to say we must observe certain things and we are not allowed to discriminate. And if we do, these are the penalties.
Does the government have a policy on gender affairs? Is there some document which governs the state's approach to gender relations?
Certainly. We do have a national policy for gender equality, and that policy is something we're very proud of, because what it does is it allows the mainstreaming of gender, meaning concerns relating to women and men, how they negotiate, how they move in spaces. That's going to be looking at making it gender balanced so that there's no discrimination against women and men. And that policy was approved in 2011. And it's on the strength of that policy that we were able to transition from Women's Affairs on March 21, 2016, via Cabinet Decision 816 to Gender Affairs, because we see that the role of men is so critical in the negotiation, in the dialogue. We've been for years talking about gender-based violence, and in most cases we were looking at women as victims as well as survivors, but perhaps not really delving so deeply in the issues relating to men and how their issues were critical to the negotiation, and having them elbow the table and be a part of the dialogue.
So issues such as the marginalization of our boys in some areas, and the marginalization of men in some areas are legitimately the concern and under the purview of the Bureau of Gender Affairs?
Certainly. And even now, with a renewed focus, with this new ministry, there is a renewed focus, and it's called male marginalization. That's the theme that they're referring to it under this new ministry. And one of the areas is the Ministry of Culture.
You moved from
Gender,
the Office of the Prime Minister.
That's correct. And that was in March. The March removal of the name was actually March, but in terms of the transition, officially it was April 1. And the
this
focus,
year?
April 1,
Just this
2016,
year,
all of this year, all of that. And even though the policy was approved in 2011, we actually got the rebranding March 21 officially. And on April 1, we transitioned to this new ministry. And the big ticket item for us is human development, human capital development actually, and social inclusion, making sure that we do not marginalize anyone, or if there's a marginalized or vulnerable group, whether it's a male, female, or it's a boy, girl, or whether it's somebody in the rural areas, or whatever area it is across the stratas, that we do not discriminate, and we are inclusive in our approach.
What is happening vis-a-vis the sexual harassment law?
Interesting that you ask. I think what happened is the legislation is actually on hold because of the election. So there's a new direction that was given by the minister, and our minister has signaled that she wants it to go in a particular direction. And so there's discussion between the ministry, that's our ministry, Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, and the Ministry of Justice. We're having dual carriage on that piece of legislation. And while I speak of that, I must speak about the National Anti-Sexual Harassment Policy, which is what we use to inform the legislation. And that is very important as well, because it will set the parameters for
there's a National Anti-Sexual
Harassment Policy. Yes, there is. And that will set the parameters for the legislation, and will also bring awareness on the legislation itself and what it is that it will do, what forms of redress exist, and how do people access these forms of redress.
Yes. How are we going to get men to take the issue of sexual harassment seriously? Because we like to say that there are some things that are innocuous and in our culture. And if we're going to be banning flirting and that sort of a thing, they're going to have issues with that. How would you interact with men? Because some of the things that they regard as innocent and so on really are discriminatory and are sexist.
I understand, and I do take your point. I think what happens sometimes it's done in ignorance. You know, they might not be aware. What we've found, our experience has been, once we talk to men about the parameters of it, like how is it that you describe it, what constitutes sexual harassment, and how is it defined, and in most cases it is a female or the recipient, because in some cases it's a male recipient, and increasingly we're having male-on-male violence and male-on-male sexual harassment. Male-on-male sexual harassment, and the reports are increasing, even though there's a stigma. Yes. Even though there's a stigma attached to male reporting on sexual harassment by a male, because you know sometimes there's a little ridicule and a little trivialization of it, but yet it is encouraged strongly, and the legislation will speak definitively to that as well, in terms of ensuring that it doesn't matter, it's gender neutral. Yes, and so there is provision for both male harassment and female harassment.
We're talking gender issues today on Issues and Answers, and we have the Director of Policy and Research at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Sharon Coburn Robinson, with us. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
Equality. for our men and women.
Gender issues represent our focus today on issues and answers. Domestic violence, is that a major issue in Jamaica?
Certainly. The
Big
statistics, very big, very big. The statistics indicate that the numbers are increasing.
Are increasing?
They are increasing despite the fact that there is so much work that's done. In some cases, you have a lowering of the reports, where you have an extreme penetration of awareness raising, and there is a specific method that has been used. Let us say the policing has increased. So if there is an increase in policing, especially community policing, where the relationship between the members of the community and the police have changed significantly, where there is a greater trust,
Yes.
and so on, you find that there is increased reporting and increased protection around persons, because now citizens take it on and find that they are now also assisting the police to protect. But where we find that there's a strained relationship between the police and the citizens, and you don't have that trust issue, you find that the reports are not as frequent and the incidents are higher. Yes. So we found that.
Are there some cultural factors, Mrs. Robinson, which feed domestic violence in Jamaica?
Certainly.
Cultural attitudes.
Certainly.
Let's talk about
Certainly. We know that this is the thing of patriarchy. It's not something that, some people don't like to hear about it. Yes. Where people think of the culture of entitlement, where this person, and you have some misguided men who still feel that they have a right to women's bodies.
Yes.
And if they don't get it willingly, then they will take it by force. And so that can get into a place where you become a violent person, and you are you rape somebody, or you hit on somebody, or you stalk them to the point where they feel intimidated, and it affects their ability to have freedom of movement. And you might find that it might be a relationship, and the person who is the male person is earning less or not employed. Perhaps he lost his job, or he got a demotion for whatever reason, and his partner is earning more, and so he feels threatened by this new found
source of independence.
Yes, and this person's, and they will say the person is guani or asserting self, and so there's this need to bring her back to where she feels like
who is in charge.
show who is in charge. Yes,
I'm still in charge. I'm the man.
Exactly. So sometimes we have that happening, and so we find that when it happens, there is a need for a negotiation, the need for the conflict resolution, discussion on the issues, getting parties to see that it's not about who is wearing the pants or who is bringing in the bread or the bacon, but it's about making sure that you are seeing eye to eye on issues. Yes. And especially if children are involved, that's an issue. Because sometimes we have found, and lots of research have proven it, that children who witness violence or who grow up in homes that have a history become violent. And so, yes, so the cycle keeps repeating itself, and they become violent persons themselves and start perpetrating violence all over again. So the cycle has to be broken by public education.
And some of these abusers even use the Bible.
Precisely.
You say, man is head of the house, and they must submit to the man, and
that's correct.
Woman has no control over her body but
that's
the husband.
Correct. That's correct. So we find that when women are empowered and they understand what is in place, there are laws, and there are policies, and there are agencies, ministry department agencies and other social service providers that are in place to provide public education and support. And no one should suffer in silence, and no one has a right to be violent to you, and violence is absolutely not appreciated and not tolerated.
And there are agencies that women can go to, or people who have been abused, men or women, can...
Certainly. We are a part of a network of services. The ministries, we have large ministries that deal specifically with issues relating to violence. So there's the Ministry of National Security, and the Ministry of National Security has Sisoko, which will do the sexual violence piece of it. So there's those persons who are victims of sexual violence can be examined and counseled, and if it is they need legal representation, then they are referred to the relevant persons, and the police will of course do their job with investigation and so on. And there is the Ministry of Justice that has the Victim Services Division. So your legal representation comes in there and so on. And we do have other, the Ministry of Health, very big, in terms of the injury surveillance method. They have this mechanism that allows them to look at who is going to the hospitals, what are they reporting, how is it happening and how can they reduce that? And there is a crime observatory. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. It's the Jamaica Crime Observatory. It's an integrated crime and violence integrated system. And that is a database that tracks the violence. Because as a policy person, I understand the importance of research and data to drive policy.
Absolutely right.
So when you have data, you can use that to influence your programs and your policy, and you can perhaps plan how to make sure that those areas that are prone to having these attacks, that you beef up security around those areas, and the times, because what the observatory does, it tells you the times that are most popular for violence to take place, and the spots, and so on, the communities.
So this
and all
database
of that.
is being
It is being
built up.
populated. It is alive and well, and it has been monitored through the Ministry of National Security rather, and it is Mona Infomix. That's where it is kept.
Yes.
And it's populated. But the committee meets. We have a sub-technical committee, and that committee meets, and we look at the data, disaggregate the data, analyze the data, and use that to plan for future activities.
We have only a short time, but I must touch on the national policy for gender equality.
Perfect.
For some of the key features.
There are
of
4
what's being
guiding
done.
principles
Yes.
that we think are very critical. The first one is gender equality and social justice. And, it's so important because everyone wants justice, and you know that. And so we want to make sure that in the workplace, at home, wherever you are, that whatever you're doing, your plan, your program, your policy, whatever you're rolling out, it should be fair. It should factor in a gender differential component, so no one is left behind and everyone benefits. The second guiding principle is multi-sectoral approach and partnerships. That means we bring everyone to the table, multi-sectoral,
okay,
so
yeah.
it's not just a joined up government approach. So you have private sector, public sector, NGO, community-based, faith-based, all those groups are part of it, because it takes all of us to do this. It's not a one person. And then you have political will and commitment, or political leadership and commitment, which looks at making sure that you have guidance from the top, you have buy-in from the top. So the Prime Minister is a part of it, the ministers of government are a part of it, the heads of departments, the heads of ministries are a part of it, and just about all persons who are in leadership position buy into this, because it's very critical. And the fourth and final one is participatory approach, and that's for everyone else who was not included in the other 4. So everyone has a role to play in this. So you, in your space, ensure that you do not discriminate. So if you see a child that is in need of protection, you report as a fit person. If you see somebody who has been abused and you can support that person, or you can point them to where they can get the support, you take that role on as a fit person as well.
Good. Thanks very much. And certainly all of us can be fit. All of us should take on this responsibility of promoting gender equality, of ensuring that in our spaces, in our interactions, that we deal respectfully across the sexes. Thank you so much for your company today. Next week we'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.
That can easily change if we allow the cutting of trees, forest fires, animal grazing, crop cultivation, or improper dwellings to destroy our forest reserves. Help preserve Jamaica's flora and fauna. If you know or suspect that someone is hurting our forest reserves, call 1-888-FORESTS. Remember, protecting our forests means sustaining our lives.
Some people say whatever men can do, women can do it too. And I mean, so me here. One era of profession previously dominated by men, which is now pulling in more wives and mothers, is agriculture. See now how women farm.
have always loved the land. I always loved to plant. You see, and I always say when, given the opportunity and health-wise, if I can manage, I would farm.
Once you like the thing, you will do the thing. So, with the pigs now, me like pig, so that's not a problem, only sometimes for wash your pen.
In daylight, first thing I get up and do, wash my teeth, wash my face, and turn to the cub.
Women have been digging into the field of agriculture for quite a long time and make a tremendous contribution to food and agricultural production. They also play a crucial role in determining and guaranteeing food security and the well-being of the entire household. And, as with many other occupations, rural women have been managing to surmount the odds by doing the best they can and building their independence.
Normally, while working, I find that maybe what I would make in a month, then I can make it in a week in farming.
I never have any current for myself, and I could sort out myself and string my house, paying my bills also.
All of these women have been reaping the fruit of their labor under the European Union Christian Aid Sustainable Livelihoods Project, implemented by ROC. Some in cash crop farming, and others through livestock and poultry. As former employees in the declining banana industry, the women farmers maintain that running their own agricultural business is more gratifying.
It's better than to go to Eastern, because at morning time I used to get up 3:30, and by time 15 minutes to 5, we have to reach on by buses all to catch a bus. And some of the time when 10 o'clock at night time, you don't reach here yet.
Yes, the banana was tough, hard work, because you had to put the thing on your head, and that was hard.
Running their own cash crop and livestock farms certainly represents a breakthrough, but it doesn't mean that they don't face tremendous obstacles. Indeed, farming is usually tough work for men, but women in cash crop agriculture face unique issues, particularly in land preparation.
The reality is that there's some physical work that women are not necessarily able to do, and so we're providing them with a little bit of funding to help with that.
Preparing the land, though, is only part of the challenge that women in agriculture face. Many women do not own their farmland, making access to credit a significant challenge. But even outside of those issues, they all seem to struggle with juggling domestic responsibilities, childcare, and work, especially in female-headed households in rural areas. In spite of the odds, though, women farmers in this ROC-implemented European Union Christian Aid project have been plowing ahead. Their hope is fertilized by their unique knowledge of how hard labor can give birth to new possibilities.
You have to be determined, and I find that being my own boss is excellent.
The JIS Heritage Competition is back. Enter your essay, poster, or photo and win big prizes. If you're aged 9 to 12 years, enter the essay competition and tell us who is your favorite Jamaican sportsman or sportswoman and why. High school students, enter the poster competition. This year's theme is Jamaica's Rich Sporting Heritage. If you're a tertiary level student, enter the photo competition. This year's theme is I Am a Sports Champion. Competition closes for all 3 categories on November 6. Get started now. For information on submission and competition guidelines, visit our website at jis.gov.jm. Call 926-359-024, extension 2137, or send an email.
The influenza A H1N1 virus, formerly known as swine flu, is a highly contagious acute respiratory disease caused by one of several swine influenza A viruses and is easily spread from person to person. The influenza A H1N1 virus has been described as a new subtype of swine influenza A and has not been previously detected in swine or humans. It has genetic material from human, avian or bird, and pig components. While there are no vaccines for this new H1N1 strain, antivirals have been found to reduce the severity of the disease. 2 antivirals recommended by the World Health Organization, Tamiflu and Zanamivir, are being used for the treatment and prevention of the disease. The gravity of the situation is that the world faces a new virus to which most people have a little or no immunity. It is therefore crucial that everyone take the necessary precautions to prevent further transmission of the disease. And what are these preventative measures? Well, the signs and symptoms of the disease are similar to those of any flu-like disease. Therefore, it is important that any flu-like symptom be reported to a doctor or the nearest healthcare facility. Also, if you've traveled to or come into contact with someone from an affected country, for example, Mexico, Canada, or the USA, and have flu-like symptoms, you are to contact a doctor or go to the nearest health facility. The symptoms include a fever greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, sore throat, coughing, stuffy nose, headache, body aches, and fatigue. Nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may also be experienced. Take these everyday steps to prevent the virus and protect your health. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Throw the tissue in the trash after use. Wash hands often with soap and water, especially after you've coughed or sneezed. Alcohol-based hand cleaners are very effective. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. Germs can spread this way. And stay home if you get sick. Limit contact with others to keep from infecting them. Influenza viruses change very quickly, and so does their resistance to vaccines. Prevention is indeed better than cure. Since the H1N1 virus is a disease with a pig component, you might be wondering if it's safe to eat pork products. Well, the virus has not been shown to be transmissible to people through the eating of pork or other products derived from pigs. These products, however, must be properly handled and prepared. The virus is killed by cooking at temperatures of 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius, according to the General Cooking Guidelines for the preparation of pork and other meats. And farmers need not worry because there has been no confirmation of transmission between pigs and humans. For further information on influenza A H1N1, persons may call the ministry's toll-free number at 1-888-663-5683.
Let's celebrate Jamaica to the world. Fastest man in the world. First Jamaican woman to win gold in Olympic 100-meter sprint. An upcoming global superstar. Mouth-watering meals. And a vibrant set of people. We are Jamaicans. Let's get together and bring back the love.
Think on this as we forge ahead with our planning for a brand new week. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Head on over to our website at jis.gov.jm. It's your source for more information on the offerings of the Bureau of Gender Affairs. To watch this program again, click on our YouTube channel. You may also check out our other social media platforms. I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.